Welcome to the first class of Quick Test Professional. The objectives of today's class are: what is Quick Test Professional? Prepare to automate using QTP. Understand the application under test, AUT. First look at add-ins for QTP. Understanding the QTP user interface. And setting up preferences in QTP before recording. Let's start our class by getting to know what exactly is Quick Test Professional. Quick Test Professional is a functionality testing tool. It is the most commonly used tool for functional testing. QTP is a product of Mercury Interactive, now owned by HP. The latest version of QTP in the market is 10.0. The important advantage of QTP, or functional testing, is reusability, consistency, and productivity. By reusability, I mean we can reuse the automated test scripts during different phases of testing. It is consistent because it provides the same results every time you run the scripts, unless there are defects or changes in the application. Productivity is another advantage, because all the automated scripts can be run unattended. Unattended means that a person need not be present at the time when you run the scripts. You can just put these test scripts to run and meanwhile do other tasks. While the automated test scripts are running unattended, testing resources can be utilized for accomplishing other tasks. In this way, QTP adds a big boost to productivity. I hope all of you have a better understanding about what QTP is, and why it is used, and the advantages it provides, and in general advantages of automating regression tests. Now let's move on to the next topic. Let's see what are the steps we need to prepare before we begin to automate an application. The first and foremost important thing is that the application should be stable. When I mean stable, I mean that the application should not have any defects. Also, we should be sure that the application will not be having any major changes anytime soon. Only then we should decide to automate testing, or else let us say if there are any major defects or the application is going to be changed, and automating such an application will create additional work for you in the sense that you'll end up making changes to the automated test scripts again and again. Making changes to existing scripts takes more time than recording a new script. This is the reason why stability of an application is one of the major criteria for automating an application. The next important thing is before you automate a test case, you need to execute it manually. That is because only when you execute the test case manually, you will know what is the output of each and every step. You will know what to expect from the application. In other words, you will know how the application behaves in response to each action. This is the reason why we need to execute the test case manually before recording a test script. Verify data is available. Having the right data for testing is very critical to the success of testing. In certain cases, we can use any data while executing the test cases. But for testing some applications, we may have to use production data. Only then you will be able to test the functionality of the application. So in these cases, we have to make sure that the right data is available before we start recording test scripts for testing the application. Also, you should be able to differentiate between valid and invalid data for your application. This is really important, since if you use the invalid data and the application will be behaving in a different way than you expected. Also, you should have sufficient data available in case if you are running the scripts for multiple iterations. Iteration means one set of flow. Suppose you want to run a particular test script on 100 different data sets, and then each of the tests run with a single data at the time is called an iteration. So if you're going to perform much iteration on a particular script, you need to ensure that there's enough data available in order to run all those test runs. In short, before automating, we need to make sure what kind of data you have and if it is enough for the desired iterations. 4. Recognize initial and end condition of the test. By initial condition, I mean the state of the application before running the test, and end condition implies the state of the application after the test run. If you are going to run your test for various iterations, you need to make sure that the last step in your test script resets the application back to the same initial condition it was before you began running the test. In other words, you need to make sure that the final state of the application after the test run is the same state before the script started to run. So in this way, you can run various iterations, or else this is not the condition when the script runs for the second iteration. It'll fail since the end of the condition is not the same as the initial condition. 5. Standardized naming conventions. This is applicable while naming an action, object repository, test scripts. Standardized conventions should be used everywhere and followed strictly. I have a shortcut of QTP on my desktop. I'm going to double-click on that, and when you first launch a QTP, an add-in manager box will be displayed. If your QTP is a trial version, you will see a license warning. Your license will expire in so many days. Just click on the Continue button. Now you will see the Add-in Manager box. I will explain what an add-in manager is. The add-in manager enables QTP to recognize the objects in the application based on the add-ins. So let me explain what is an object in QTP. QTP objects are nothing but various fields and controls used to build the user interface of a software application. For example, text box, field, button, radio button, pull-down menu, are some of the other examples for objects. You keep hearing about the object repository in QTP. What is the object repository? In simple terms, the object repository is nothing but a place where you store the information about the objects. In essence, object repositories is a database of the names and the properties of all the objects encountered during a test script creation. We will learn more about objects and object repositories in future classes. Let's come back to the demo now. By default, you see 3 types of add-ins included: ActiveX, Visual Basic, and Web. Depending on the type of the test, you need to select the appropriate add-in. Say if your application is web-based, then you need to include the Web add-in, a Visual Basic add-in for a Visual Basic application, and ActiveX add-in for an ActiveX control application. Always check only the required add-in for your application type, since QTP will slow down if you select all the add-ins, and you also may have some internal inconsistencies. So here I am going to check the ActiveX add-in only. Before that, I will show you another important thing. You can see below in the leftmost corner of the checkbox, Show on Startup Only. If you check this, you can see the Add-in Manager while you launch QTP. And if you uncheck this, Add-in Manager will not be displayed. It is advisable to check this box always, since you will be able to select the appropriate add-ins per your application type. Now click on OK. You can see QTP is being launched now. It takes some time for QTP to open. When you open QTP for the first time, you will see a welcome window, and in this window, all the details recording what is new in QTP 10.0 will be displayed. You can close the screen, and the next screen will appear in a new blank test window.